अब नहीं है हिचकिचाना, मन के स्वास्थ्य पर है ध्यान लगाना।
अब नहीं है हिचकिचाना, मन के स्वास्थ्य पर है ध्यान लगाना।
मन की सेहत भी है जरूरी, काउंसलर से फिर क्यों दूरी।
मन की सेहत भी है जरूरी, काउंसलर से फिर क्यों दूरी।
चलो अब अपना फोन उठाओ, मनोदर्पण पर कॉल लगाओ। चलो अब अपना फोन उठाओ, मनोदर्पण पर कॉल लगाओ। मनोदर्पण के काउंसलर से परामर्श पाने के लिए डायल करें टोल फ्री नंबर 844-844-0632। नंबर एक बार फिर सुने, 844-844-0632।
Namaskar. Very warm welcome to all the viewers, teacher educator in this very special live interaction of CIET NCERT named MANODARPAN Paricharcha. I am Renu Bhatt with you all and you are watching us live on PM eVidya channels, channel number 6 and 11. And apart from these channels, you are with us on our YouTube channels as well, that is NCERT Official, NCERT PM eVidya class number 6 and 11. And dear learners, as you all know, this is our very special interaction. And before we proceed further, let me give you a brief about MANODARPAN Paricharcha sessions. As you all know, Sahyog and MANODARPAN Paricharcha sessions are held under MANODARPAN initiative. It's a brilliant initiative by Ministry of Education as a part of Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan, so that we can provide psychosocial support to all the students, their parents and teachers across the country, and we generally talk about their mental well-being as well in these special sessions. And what is the topic for today's interaction? Let me share it with you. The topic is understanding stress and managing it effectively. So as we all know, we are in 21st century and it is a highly competitive world. We have competition in every field, whether we are studying, whether we are student, we are in college, we are in job, we got stress and we face so many challenges. So what is stress? Is it really stress that we need to, we flaunt every time? Is it stress or we need to understand stress? How we can understand that? What are the symptoms behind it? And how you can manage stress? For all those details, we have joined by our esteemed panelists to throw more light on this particular topic. So without any further delay, let's quickly meet them. You are Dr. Prachi Ghildial. You are Assistant Professor from NIRI, Shillong. Very warm welcome, ma'am. Swagat hai aapka.
Namaskar.
And we have joined by Dr. Sagnika Sahu as well. You are Assistant Professor from NIRI, Shillong. Very warm welcome, ma'am.
Thank you and namaste.
Namaste, ma'am. We have joined by Miss Gracefulness 10. You are Principal from DTH Nongstown, Meghalaya. Very warm welcome, ma'am. Swagat hai aapka. And we have joined by Mr. Prashant Soikia. You are lecturer from DTH Kamrup, Assam. Very warm welcome, sir. Swagat hai aapka.
Namaskar. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, sir. Pleasure is all ours. And dear learners and viewers, it's time for you to participate in this live interaction with all your queries and doubts. And if you want to know more about MANODARPAN initiative, so we have a dedicated website for that. You can explore this website, that is www.manodarpan.education.gov.in. And if you have joined us through our Facebook page, you have to go there in Facebook and then you can log into NCERT. This is our official Facebook page. And besides all these mediums, if you want to talk to MANODARPAN counselors ever with all your doubts and queries, you need to call them. That telephone number is 844-844-0632. And you can reach out to us with all your queries and doubts on our telephone number, that is 8800-440-559. And if you have joined us through our live streaming, then that means you are on our YouTube channel. Then you have to go to the live chat box. Then only you can drop your comment out there. Our expert will be more than happy to answer all your queries and doubts. If you have any, or if you want to share your experience with us, you feel free to reach out to us. So let's quickly start this very special interaction of MANODARPAN Paricharcha, where we are going to discuss about understanding stress and managing it effectively. बहुत ज़रूरी हो जाता है ये जानना कि क्या स्ट्रेस है, एक्चुअल में जिसे हम स्ट्रेस कह रहे हैं क्या वो स्ट्रेस है, अगर है तो इसे किस तरह से मैनेज किया जा सकता है. प्राची मैम, वी वुड लाइक यू टू स्टार्ट दिस पर्टिकुलर इंटरैक्शन और डिस्कशन एंड वी वांट यू टू एक्सप्लेन दिस पर्टिकुलर टॉपिक टू ऑल द व्यूअर्स. मैम, Prachi ma'am.
Namaskar again. Thank you very much, Renuji. As you have already mentioned, we are here to discuss a very, very pertinent issue about which we keep hearing all the time nowadays, because and from across the society, from children and youngsters and even grown-ups, across all ages, we are hearing this word stress. And we are all often hearing people saying that they are very, very stressed. Now, you were asking whether there is something like stress really exists. Yes, there is something like stress which we encounter often in our lives. And as we discuss this topic again, further, we will realize that stress is something which is something out there, and the influence it is having on us is experienced or perceived by different people in a different manner. Okay, so the same thing may be a source of excitement to someone, but it may be very stressful to another person. So we will talk about that. But yes, I would say that stress is a very, very real issue. It is being experienced by almost everyone nowadays, and even young children. पहले जब हम सुनते थे स्ट्रेस, हम बोलते थे बच्चों को कहाँ स्ट्रेस होता है, मगर आज के जमाने में क्या हो रहा है कि बच्चे ही हैं शायद जिनको सबसे ज्यादा स्ट्रेस है, because they are being burdened from all over, from all sides, and they are the most vulnerable to stress in today's time. So before we begin talking about how we can manage stress and how we can deal with it effectively, it is important for us to understand what it is. So when we talk about stress, it is basically a kind of a perception of the individual. ठीक है, so perception जब मैं बोल रही हूँ तो इसका मतलब है कि it is not an objective thing that everyone experiences the same kind of stress under similar situations. Okay, it's a perception where people try to analyze whether they have the resources to manage this force. Okay, so stress is a kind of an event that is happening in our lives. It is an external event, and if we feel that we have the resources to cope with it, we will not be so stressed. But when we feel that we are not equipped or prepared to manage it or to deal with it, then we feel more stressed. Okay, so the resources that we are talking about are our personal resources and our social resources. So personal resources would be things like our attitudes to life, how whether we have developed some coping skills over our lifespan, the experiences that we have had in life which have given us some insights into how to manage emotional or social issues. And social resources would be things like our friends, our family, our relationships with people. Okay, so these are when we feel that yes, we have enough social and personal resources, then we can manage whatever is happening in our lives, then we will not be so much stressed. Okay, so it's this stress response. We talk about a stress response. So it is a physical, mental or emotional response to events that causes bodily or mental tension. Okay, so anything that causes, जब हम स्ट्रेस की बात करते हैं, जैसे हम देखेंगे एक स्प्रिंग है. Okay, we can take the example of a spring. उस पे हम जब चीज कुछ लटकाते हैं, it stretches. Okay, it stretches. But if we put too much of a weight on the string, it might stretch out of form permanently, and that is how we can understand the stress response. Okay, so within a certain limit, when we are faced with these weights in the form of some external events or some external pressures that are causing us some discomfort, we stretch a bit, we try to cope with it, we bring in all our resources, we mobilize our resources, and we try to manage it. But when it exceeds our coping capacities, then we suffer in the form of going out of shape. We suffer in the form of having certain physical symptoms. We suffer in the form of having certain mental and emotional impact. Okay, so this is what this is how we can understand stress. Now, when we talk about stress, it always seems that stress is a very bad thing. है ना? स्ट्रेस हमें लगता है अरे स्ट्रेस बहुत बुरी चीज है, इससे हमेशा नुकसान होता है. नहीं, it is not like that. Stress is not always bad. There are a lot of researchers which show us that there is something like an optimal level of stress, which means this is that level of stress. Again, it is specific to a particular individual, which is not going to be which is not going to cause too much of harm to the person. It is not something so insignificant that it does not push the person to do work. Okay, so an optimal level of stress is just the right amount of stress which motivates people to put in more effort and achieve their goal, okay, to work towards their goal. So researchers say that for performance to be enhanced, it's good that we experience some kind of stress. Okay, so आप देखते होंगे कि जब हमें कुछ काम करना होता है, जब हमें कोई असाइनमेंट सबमिट करना होता है, जब तक बहुत टाइम है तब तक हम लोग बोलते हैं हो जाएगा. जब हमारे पास टाइम कम होने लगता है, तब हमें लगता है कि अरे अब डेडलाइन आ रही है, तब हमें जब स्ट्रेस शुरू होता है, देन वी से नहीं, लेट अस सिट डाउन एंड गेट दिस थिंग डन. ओके, सो फॉर all purposes, a certain amount of stress can be beneficial. It can motivate us, it can help us to work for our goal. So this kind of stress is called eustress. This is a positive kind of stress, and it is generally within our coping abilities. Okay, it is something that we can manage easily. It can also give us some kind of excitement. We look forward to certain events and it improves our performance. So आपने सुना होगा एडवेंचर स्पोर्ट्स. एडवेंचर स्पोर्ट्स क्या है, बहुत स्ट्रेसफुल होता है. हाँ, स्ट्रेस होता है उसमें. हॉरर मूवीज देखने हम जब जाते हैं तो क्या होता है, स्ट्रेस होता है. बट वी एक्टिवली सीक आउट दीज experiences because they give us a kind of they provide a kind of fun to us, they provide a kind of excitement to us. On the other hand, there's another kind of stress, which is the negative stress, which we are generally talking about. Okay, so in today's having said that stress is not always bad, in today's discussion we will be focusing more on the negative aspects of stress, where stress is causing physical harm, it is causing emotional harm, and this kind of stress is always distressing. Okay, it causes anxiety or concern because it is beyond our coping abilities. Okay, it makes us feel unpleasant, it decreases our performance, and it often leads to mental and physical problems. The stress can be something which is very general. So often what we experience is a general kind of stress, which is like होमवर्क करना है, खत्म करना, एक टाइम फ्रेम है, उसमें 2 दिन में हम अपना असाइनमेंट कंप्लीट कर लेंगे एंड वी विल बी स्ट्रेस फ्री. ओके, सो इट गेट्स over in a short span of time. But there's another kind of stress which is called cumulative. It builds up. तो अगर आपकी लाइफ में कोई एक ऐसी सिचुएशन है जो आपको कॉन्स्टेंटली स्ट्रेस दे रही है, वो ज्यादा परेशान करने वाला होता है, और इसमें हमारे कॉन्सिक्वेंसेस हमारे लिए ज्यादा लॉन्ग लास्टिंग है। ओके, फॉर एग्जाम्पल, अगर आपको बहुत लेट नाइट काम करना है एंड यू आर नॉट एबल टू गेट अ फुल गुड रेस्टफुल स्लीप, it builds up over time and causes a lot of physical and emotional problems. Similarly, if you are caring for a sick person in your family for a long period of time, that is also building up. And इसके अलावा कुछ stresses हैं जो एक short span of time के लिए होते हैं because of a particular crisis that you have. So if there's a sudden death in the family, there's an acute stress. But there's another kind of stress that we experience, which is called the post-traumatic stress. जब हमने कोई एक बहुत ट्रॉमेटिक एक्सपीरियंस फेस किया, जैसे कि कभी हमने कुछ अब्यूज एक्सपीरियंस किया, या कभी हमने एक एक्सीडेंट एक्सपीरियंस किया, या कोई नेचुरल डिजास्टर एक्सपीरियंस किया, उसके बाद ये स्ट्रेस बहुत लंबा खिंचता है और ये बहुत बहुत लॉन्ग लास्टिंग इम्पैक्ट होता है इसका। मैं बस एक चीज और बोलूंगी कि स्ट्रेस जो है इसलिए बुरा है क्योंकि ओवर अ पीरियड ऑफ टाइम इससे हमारी थिंकिंग, हमारी इमोशंस और हमारी फिजिकल हेल्थ, ये सब अफेक्ट होने लगती हैं नेगेटिवली। ओके, सो व्हेन वी टॉक अबाउट नेगेटिव इम्पैक्ट ऑन द फिजिकल हेल्थ, बहुत सिंपल थिंग्स, our immunity becomes reduced, so we are very much prone to small flu, बहुत जल्दी होता है, ठीक है। तो वेट लॉस होता है, स्लीपिंग एंड ईटिंग प्रॉब्लम्स हो जाती हैं, एंड वी आर, ये शुरू में तो थोड़ा कम दिखता है बट बाद में जाकर के इट मे हैव अ लॉन्ग टर्म इम्पैक्ट। Emotionally we become irritable, we start withdrawing from people, we are always prone to emotional or anger outbursts. So these are some of the impacts that we see very often have as a result of stress. Having said what stress is all about, I would like to now invite our panelist, Ms. Gracefulness 10, to talk about some of the reasons that, or some of the causes for stress. Why is it that people experience stress? So, over to you, Grace, for some elaboration on the factors that cause stress.
Thank you very much, Dr. Prachi. Now, coming to the factors contributing to stress. We have understood what is stress all about. So let us see what are these factors contributing to stress. So as per the research studies, they have listed out some of these factors. That is number 1, academic. Number 2, finance. Number 3, relationship. Number 4, career. Then time management, health, and working atmosphere. So broadly speaking, we have 4 major factors, which are number 1, work-related or occupational factor. Then number 2 is the social factor. Number 3, physical factor. And the last one is psychological factor. So we are going to discuss each one of these factors. Now let us start with what is work-related or occupational factor. Again, we can categorize these small factor into sub-factors, which are, when we are in any office or any institutions or in any workplace, we always experience this kind of heavy workload, then maybe long working hours, frequent change in shifts, then there's no break during working hours, or maybe due to poor and unsafe environment. So when we talk about all these things, you see it comes under work-related or occupational factor. So especially when we talk about poor and unsafe environment, it might not only the kind of abuses that we are experiencing, but maybe it's maybe due to the fact that because of the secluded location of the office and so on and so forth. So that is the first one, which is work-related or occupational. Part A, which is duty-related factors. Then coming to the Another point B on the occupational factor, we have this staff related factor, which is the major one of the major causes. When we are in the office or in any workplace, we experience the relationship among staffs, which is not in a kind of healthy relationship. We have to work with incompetent staffs. Then there will be conflict with seniors and our subordinates, including abuses of any form. Abuses here, it might be in the kind of verbal abuses. And when someone is passing any negative comments or saying something bad about us, it tends to become stressful. Then, apart from that, there is also this inadequate staff and lack of resources. Lack of resources, like especially those people or like us working in the rural areas, we usually experience that, especially the internet, there's failure of electricity, so on and so forth. And these are the things that made us so stressful. And last, but not the least is the role and responsibilities ambiguity. Sometimes with work, we are so confusing. We are not able to understand what are my roles, what are my responsibilities. Should I do this? Is it my duty to complete this or to do this? So these are the kind of things, that add stresses in our daily life, which is related to staff related factor. Then we also have this number C under work factor. We have this administration related factors. Again, here also, even if we work so hard, we are so dedicated, so committed to our work, but still there is lack of growth and promotion, especially if we have the seniors that will not provide us with space to grow, and also there's no avenues for promotion. And then this will make us think about that. What shall we do? Am I safe here? Those are the questions that we used to ponder. Then, of course, there is also this inadequate financial incentives. Even like I have stated earlier, even if I have worked so hard, nobody like recognizes my hard work, my dedication. Then with this, then coming to the next one, which is job insecurity, especially nowadays with all the contractual system of engaging employees, like it has created that kind of feelings that where do I go from now? What if I'm being deployed? What if I'm being, terminated from the job? This is the kind of job insecurity that we are facing. Then, apart from that, insensitive to genuine demands and concern. Nowadays, we could see lots of agitations, lots of hurdles, and so on with this various demands, some which is genuine, some which is not also. And then last but again, there is also this unsupportive and unfriendly organization that is within the working the working atmosphere within that institute or within that workplace. It's not conducive for us, to excel to the fullest, or maybe there are certain barriers, certain impediments that we could not excel to or give ourselves for the best. Then we come to point to factor number 2, which is under social factor. And again, in category A, we have the daily hassles. So in daily hassles, first of all, there is this interpersonal conflicts, the relationship with my co-workers, the relationship maybe with my family members, or maybe there is, nowadays we are very much conscious of our looks. Being good looking, we feel that being very slim or maybe not fat will make us feel that we will be acceptable in the society or acceptable in the family. So this is also a major concern. Then suppose now if there is a family member who is always sick and always in bed, that is also of a great concern and it causes stress. Then apart from that, like we have to balance between workplace and home. We have to look after our home maintenance, and then the sudden rise in commodities and all nowadays with the high price rate of everything, be it food, be it any assets, we have to think of that. And when we think of that, we become stressed. Then this is another point which we everybody is facing a problem nowadays, like too many things to do and lack of time. Time management is of great concern. We are living in the era of rat race where everybody is in a rush, but nobody is on time. So this is also one of those factors. Then again, in social factor B, like what Dr. Prachi has already mentioned earlier, there's traumatic life events also, like the death of someone close in the family. Then maybe there's a sudden loss of wealth or financial crisis, personal illness or injury, then illness of a family member, or maybe broken love affairs or engagement, which falls under traumatic life events. Then to continue with traumatic life events, even there are some factors like sexual problems, then unemployment, accident, natural disaster, group fighting or military combat, and of course last but not the least, rape victims. Now to become we have nobody could understand what a rape victim has to undergo, the trauma that she has faced. So this has added stress not only to the victim but also to the entire family, which is or which who are or who is related to her. Then coming to the social factor again, number 3, that is these are catastrophes that we can't help. They are all unpredictable, like earthquake, riot, and mob lynching, and these has a very very great role
Grace ma'am, I
in
would request you
affecting
to
us.
sum up, please.
Yes, so the last but not the least is the physical factor, in which it includes illness due to pain, due to lack of sleep, poor nutrition, and overwork. So these are the 4 majors. Last but not the least is the psychological factor, which is the fear of being rejected by parents, spouse, romance, peer, and siblings, and of course, anticipation of punishment, and then interpersonal relationship extra. So these are the 4 major factors that contributes towards stress. That's all from my part.
Thank you very much, Grace. And you have given us a very lucid explanation of some of the factors that are responsible for this experience of stress. And I would just add that even for young children, they experience a lot of specific factors arising from their role in school, from their role amongst their friends. So peer pressure, fulfilling parental expectations, fitting in with the group, getting good grades, and dealing with failure. Some of these are very much stressful for the young child and for the adolescent also. So, thank you for that. And you have mentioned a very important point, which says that it's not always that when we do not have things that we are stressed. It's always also at times having too many options, too many choices, too much to choose from, that can also lead to a kind of stress. Okay, because we do not know what is good for us, what would be the best option. So that also may be a stressful thing, especially for young people in today's age who are spoiled for choice. Okay, so yeah, that's an important point that you brought up. And these factors will affect people differently. So a person may be very scared of looking down from a tall building, but on the other hand, there may be a person who actively seeks things like bungee jumping. So the same thing may affect people differently. That is something that we need to keep in mind, and it depends upon how they have grown up, how what kind of experiences they have had in life, which is going to, that's a kind of a buffer between factors and the stress. Okay, so that was a very good explanation. Thank you very much. And now I would like to request Prashant ji to speak on how can we identify stress in young people. What are some of the signs and symptoms of stress? Prashant, please.
ओके प्राची मैम और ग्रेसफुलनेस मैम ने बहुत अच्छी तरीके से स्ट्रेस क्या है, स्ट्रेसेस के टाइप्स क्या होता है और स्ट्रेसर्स के बारे में बहुत अच्छी तरीके से बताया। लेकिन जब हम लोग स्ट्रेसेस के बारे में सोचते हैं, जनरली यूस्ट्रेस के बारे में नहीं, हम डिस्ट्रेस के बारे में बात करते हैं। तो देयर आर सम साइंस एंड सिम्टम्स रिलेटेड टू स्ट्रेस। बेसिकली when a person suffers from stress, it affects in totality. That is the basic premise of stress and its impact on individual's body and mind. अगर हम लोग स्ट्रेसेस के जो सिम्टम्स और साइंस के बारे में अगर सोचेंगे तो एक्यूट जो होता है उससे ज़्यादा हम लोग जो क्रॉनिक डिस्ट्रेस और स्ट्रेस होता है उसके बारे में हम लोग ज़्यादा सोचते हैं, क्योंकि उसका इम्पैक्ट बहुत लॉन्ग लास्टिंग होता है और अदर वेरियस मेडिकल कारण के वजह से भी ये सब सिम्टम्स देखने को मिलता है, जैसे कि फिजिकल कुछ सिम्टम्स है, लेकिन ज़्यादातर जो जनरली हम लोग को दिखने को मिलता है उनमें से है जो थम्पिंग ऑफ चेस्ट, शॉर्टनेस ऑफ ब्रीदिंग, ये सब होता है, हाई ब्लड प्रेशर। दीज आर रिलेटेड टू सम फिजिकल सिम्टम्स ऑफ स्ट्रेस। और बच्चों में हम लोगों को ज़्यादातर देखने को मिलता है हेडेक है, स्टोमक एक है, ये सब बताते रहते हैं, फैटिक फील करता है और स्वेटिंग ऑफ पाम। दीज आर
जी। प्रसन्नता सर, क्या आपको हमारी आवाज़ आ रही है? और उन तक हमारी आवाज़ नहीं जा पा रही है और हम पूरी कोशिश कर रहे हैं कि हम उनसे जुड़ें। तब तक हम एक बार फिर से आप सभी को बता दें कि हम बात कर रहे हैं अंडरस्टैंडिंग स्ट्रेस एंड मैनेजिंग इट इफ़ेक्टिवली। इस विषय पर हमारे एक्सपर्ट आपको बहुत ही अच्छे तरीके से बता रहे हैं कि स्ट्रेस क्या होता है, किस तरह से आप उसे मैनेज कर सकते हैं। और यहाँ पे प्राची मैम ने आप सभी के साथ इंट्रोडक्शन दिया इस पूरे चैप्टर का, इस टॉपिक का, स्ट्रेस का। बहुत अच्छे से आपको एक्सप्लेन किया कि स्ट्रेस क्या होता है, कितने तरह के होते हैं। तो दो तरह के स्ट्रेस होते हैं। हमेशा स्ट्रेस को बुरा ही कहा जाए ये सही नहीं है, स्ट्रेस अच्छा भी होता है, कई बार हम इसे एंजॉय भी करते हैं। और यहाँ पर फिर आपको ग्रेस मैम ने भी बहुत अच्छे से एक्सप्लेन किया कि ऐसे कौन कौन से कॉजेज़ होते हैं, कौन कौन से फैक्टर्स हैं जिसकी वजह से स्ट्रेस हो सकता है किसी भी व्यक्ति को। यहाँ पर हम अपनी इस चर्चा को आगे बढ़ाना चाहेंगे और हम यहाँ पे सागनिका मैम आपके पास आएंगे और यहाँ पर हम आपसे
रेणु जी,
हाँ जी मैम।
क्योंकि हम लोग सिम्टम्स की बात कर रहे थे, मे बी आई विल जस्ट सम इट अप इन फ्यू वर्ड्स, क्योंकि बिफोर वी अंडरस्टैंड द सिम्टम्स, इफ वी रश टू the techniques for management, I think Prashant is back here, so maybe he can just continue talking about.
Yes sir, please continue sir.
टेक्निकल प्रॉब्लम हो गया था, नेटवर्क चले गए थे।
नो इशू सर।
फिर जो मेंटल कंडीशन से वो कंफ्यूजन में रहते हैं बच्चा लोग, उन लोगों को कोई कंसंट्रेशन होता ही नहीं है। ADHD का भी वो सिम्टम्स दिखने को मिलता है, एज वेल एज वो लोग लेथार्जिक होता है, प्रोक्रास्टिनेशंस का वो साइन होता है। दीज आर सम साइन एंड सिम्टम्स रिलेटेड टू स्ट्रेस। इन आइसोलेशन में रहना ज़्यादा पसंद करते हैं, आउटब्रस्ट ऑफ एंगर, इमोशनल कंट्रोल नहीं होता है उन लोगों को। समटाइम्स वी कैन सी वो लोग मतलब काम को डिले करते ही जाते रहते हैं। दीज आर द basic signs and symptoms related to stress.
जी सर।
That's all from me. Over to you, Prasimam.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much, Prashant, for highlighting some of the symptoms of stress. Uh, I would just like to add here that some of the physical symptoms, like we are not able to understand them in the beginning. So children may be complaining of stomachache or headache, or they may be very prone to some illnesses like flu. And हम सोचते हैं ऐसे ही है, या कभी हम सोचते हैं कि बच्चा ऐसे ही बोल रहा है, but sometimes it may be genuinely because the child is under stress. And there is some, we talk about these psychosomatic problems. Okay, so psychosomatic वो होता है कि इमोशन की वजह से फिजिकल प्रॉब्लम हो रही है, ठीक है। तो जब ज्यादा स्ट्रेस हो रहा है, तो वो rather than saying that I am feeling stressed, the person manifests it in the form of bodily symptoms. Okay, so sleeplessness है, खाना नहीं खा पा रहे हैं, और एक बहुत बड़ी, एक प्रॉब्लम जो बहुत फ्रीक्वेंट है, जिसे हम बोलते हैं पेप्टिक अल्सर्स। ओके, अल्सर्स हो जाते हैं लोगों को, व्हाई? बिकॉज दे आर अंडर स्ट्रेस, दे आर नॉट, क्या होता है स्ट्रेस में, एक प्रॉपर रूटीन हम नहीं फॉलो करते हैं। हम लोग कभी कभी दुखी रहते हैं या विड्रॉ करते हैं, तो मन अच्छा नहीं लगता है, इसलिए वी अवॉइड गोइंग आउट, वी अवॉइड एक्सरसाइजिंग, वी अवॉइड making spending time with friends and family, which are very very important for a holistic lifestyle. और जब हम इन सब चीजों को बंद कर देते हैं, तब इट इज वेरी इजी, इट वी शुड, अगर हम अपने आसपास किसी को देखते हैं ऐसा, या पर्सन जो बहुत अलूफ रहने लग रहा है या बहुत विड्रॉन रह रहा है, सो वी कैन बी वेरी सर्टेन दैट द person is going through certain kinds of emotional distress, okay, or stress. So thank you very much for talking about this, Prashant. I will now request our next panelist, Dr. Sagnika Sahu, to elaborate on some of the techniques of managing stress. And especially if she can also talk about some of the, because in our Indian culture, we have a lot of ways and means of managing unpleasant emotions, managing stress. I would also ask Sagnika to dwell at length on some of these traditional techniques, because these are very handy and all of us can use them for our daily stress relief. Sagnika, please.
Yes. Thank you, ma'am. Actually, this is a very, important issue, how we can manage stress. So let me start with one example, that if I give you a very good phone without software, and if the software is also there, but it is not properly managed, you don't know how to handle that, and there is virus in the system. So tell me, will the system work properly? No, right? The same thing happens to us also. So we have this body and we have very powerful software through which we function mind. Okay, but we don't know how to manage our mind. And if there is virus in the form of stress also, we don't know how to instill antivirus. Okay, so the problem is that if we want to manage our life, we want to manage stress, we have to understand how we can manage our mind. So there is one very famous psychologist, actually he belongs to positive psychology, Mihai Csikszentmihalyi. For more than 30 years, he worked on the concentration, the mind management. So he told that people who learn to control inner experience will be able to determine the quality of their life. Okay, next slide, please. Slide is not visible. Next. No, the previous one. Yes. So people who learn to control inner experience will be able to determine the quality of their life, because it is the quality of life depends on the quality of our experiences. And the quality of our experiences, it depends on the quality of our concentration. So if we have that power of concentration, if we have that power of mind, then we can have quality in our life. So now we'll try to understand what is the basic nature of our human mind. Why managing mind is so important. Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, he focused that the basic nature of human mind is very chaotic, and he called it psychic entropy. Psychic entropy means it is a situation where scattered thoughts are there, and the mind is so scattered, so restless that even we cannot focus to a particular thing, we cannot work properly, even we cannot enjoy also. We all love to enjoy good food, but when we have that restlessness in our mind, we cannot even enjoy good food also. Next slide. So we have to understand how mind works. Next slide. So here, that most of the time we think that the thought, the mind works automatically and we have nothing to do with it. But in actual, it is not like that. How? Let me discuss. First, that we have that sensory exposure, right? So through the sense organs, we have that intake. If we take whatever exposure we have, may it be positive, may it be negative, then do you think that we can have positive experience only? No, right? So we have to put one filter so that we can have only positive intake, so that, because the content of our mind is determined by our intake. Okay, so if the intake is positive, then we have that positive impact on our mind, and through conscious thoughts we have that positivity. When we repeat that positive thoughts, it becomes our samskara, means it has a very strong impression on our mind. So when the samskara, when the impression is very positive, then we have positive memory also. And when we have positive memory, then we determine the quality of life. So in this way, it's not automatic process. So it's me who decided the exposure. It's me who decided the thoughts. It's me who practiced the thought. And in the same way, I determine the quality of my mind. So it's up to us that whether we should choose the positive thing or the negative thing. Next slide. In the same way, brain also works. When we consciously repeat thoughts, then there is neural pathways. And if the neural pathway is positive, then we have that engrams. It is called engrams. Engrams means there is change in our brain which is related to our memory. And if the engrams is positive, then we can have positive impression. The brain will work positively. Whatever may be the situation, my brain will work positively. So this is the basic mechanism that is there behind our mind and how the brain works also. Next slide. So it is our mind which determines our life. If we can manage our life properly, if we can manage our mind properly, then we can manage our life very significantly, and we can manage stress to a certain extent. The stressor may be there, but it will not give stress to my mind. Okay, next slide. So there are certain techniques. First, there are a number of techniques. First, I'll be focusing on some effective techniques that is taken from research and in the domain of psychology. And after that, I'll be focusing on the traditional approaches, which is rooted in our Indian culture and tradition and philosophy also. So how to manage stress? If we have stress, there are certain techniques through which we can manage our stress. First one is supportive therapy. सपोर्टिव थेरेपी में क्या होता है, अगर मुझे स्ट्रेस है, इफ देयर इज स्ट्रेस, इफ वन इंडिविजुअल इज इन स्ट्रेस, ओके, कोई अगर स्टूडेंट स्ट्रेस में है तो एज पेरेंट्स और एज टीचर्स और एज एडल्ट्स हमें क्या करना चाहिए, उनको अपॉर्चुनिटी देना चाहिए by not being so judgmental, not being so critical, so that they can express their mind, so that they can reveal their mind. So this is very much important technique to manage stress. The second technique is medication. If the intensity of the stress is very strong, then I should have drugs and I should have that psychological therapeutic approach so that I can manage stress immediately. Then I can work on that. Next comes coping strategies. What is that? That is 4R. If there is some situation which is very much stressful to me, first I have to think whether I can avoid the situation or not. If I cannot avoid the situation, then is there any alternative way to deal with that situation? If there is no alternative, then no option left. I have to adapt with that situation and I have to accept the situation. Okay. So the next technique is stress relief techniques like lifestyle modification. It is very obvious that if we have a well-managed life, then automatically there will be less stress in our life. For example, मैं आपको अगर बोलती हूँ कि जैसे आप भी एक्सपीरियंस कर सकते हैं जो स्टूडेंट्स है कि अगर एक दिन आपको जैसे फ्रॉम द वेरी मॉर्निंग टू नाइट, इफ यू अलाउ योर माइंड कि आपको जैसे मर्जी आप ऐसे ही बिताइए पूरा दिन और रात में आप पढ़ने के लिए बैठते हैं, तो क्या होगा? You'll feel sleepy, right? The mind will tell that I'll not do these boring things, this study and all these things. Why? Because throughout the day, I was very happy. I do everything according to my whims. Now I'll not study, I'll not listen to you. So same thing happens to our life also. अगर हमारे अंदर कुछ रूटीन नहीं रहता है, well organized नहीं रहता है life, तो that will create stress. Then systematic desensitization. What is that? It means that it is a process designed to eliminate fear in specific types of situations by pairing relaxation techniques with imagining the presence of anxiety associated stimuli. What is that? मान लीजिए मेरा कोई ऐसा सिचुएशन है जहां से मुझे स्ट्रेस होता है. Okay, so in this technique we'll create that hypothetical situation, and with that we'll pair that relaxation technique. Okay, so when the both things are paired, when we actually face the situation in reality, so we can apply those relaxing technique to overcome that situation. Now next comes that cognitive modification. What is that? That I already discussed, that we have to create positive engrams in our mind, in our brain, so that our stress, or so that we can perceive any situation from a positive point of view. And then social intervention. What is that? If I am in stress, so my family members should be there, adults should be there, so that I can feel that emotional stability, emotional securedness, emotional security. Okay, so it is very much essential to manage stress also. And last but not the least, खाना के साथ एक स्ट्रेस का भी बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट और स्टेट ऑफ माइंड का एक बहुत मतलब नजदीक रिश्ता है. द फूड दैट वी टेक, if the food is very much spicy, then automatically our body will not be okay. Similarly, our mind will not be okay. So we have to be very much selective when taking foods and all the things. So in this way, these are some of the major techniques that we can that is research proved, and they are very much effective. In our next slide, we'll discuss some of the techniques that we can take from our tradition, that is yoga. So yoga means what? Yoga actually works on mind. Mind का जो status है वो हम लोग मतलब अभी हम लोग discussion किए कि that is very much chaotic and constant fluctuation is there. So yoga works how? It is called that sage Patanjali, he told that yoga chitta vritti nirodha, means yoga removes the fluctuation from the mind. Okay, and we can have so many yogas, but here I want to take 4 major yogas, that is Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Raj Yoga, and Jnana Yoga. And through that, we'll try to understand how we can implement those yoga in our day-to-day life so that we can manage our stress. Next slide. So Karma Yoga, next slide. Karma Yoga means worshipping God through the path of action. Okay. So it propagates the idea of niskama karma. What is that? देखिए जो भी हम काम करते हैं, मान लीजिए मेरा अगर एग्जाम है, ठीक है, एग्जाम खत्म होने के बाद मुझे ये टेंशन रहता है कि रिजल्ट कैसे होगा. अगर उसी टेंशन की वजह से मैं अगर प्रेजेंट में फोकस नहीं कर पा रही हूँ, तो दैट इन फ्यूचर विल क्रिएट स्ट्रेस, राइट? सो कर्म योगा टेल्स दैट just be focused on your present action and just that's all. Okay. And another thing is that niskama karma, what is that? The karma that we do for not for personal gain, but for others, for the well-being of others, for the welfare of the society. So ऐसे अगर हम लोग कर्म करते हैं, एक्शन करते हैं, तो in each and every action, there will be meaning attached to it. And it is the meaningful action which actually gives us lasting happiness in our life. So in this way, Karma Yoga can be implemented to manage stress as well and to lead a very happy and peaceful life. Next one is Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti Yoga means it is based on the principle of love of God. Okay, complete devotion to God. So when we have that complete devotion to God, so what we can tell? So we have that complete surrender to God. So whatever situation is there in our mind, or whatever situation is there in our life, so we'll try to understand the significance of that situation. Even in the worst situation also, if the situation is apparently very negative, then also I'll try to understand what is the significance, what is the thing that I can, or what is the thing that can contribute to enrich my life. So in this way, Bhakti Yoga helps us a lot to manage stress. Even it has the power to transform negative situation into positivity, which will make our life enriched. Now, the second one is what? That Raja Yoga. Raja Yoga means controlling our mind. When we have proper control over our mind, so we can manage stress to a certain extent, because we already know that it is the chaotic state of our mind which causes stress and anxiety and all the negative things. Then comes Jnana Yoga. Jnana Yoga means what? Through wisdom, how we can have that stress management. So it is very obvious that if I am connected to the body or to the mind, then I cannot manage the body and the mind also. So if we think that Jnana Yoga tells that it is our real self is Satchidananda Sarupa, means we are that existence, consciousness and bliss. Ananda is there, happiness is there, bliss is there in our nature. But the problem is that we consider ourselves as body, we identify ourselves as mind, and the suffering is there either to body or to mind. And when there is pain in my body, I think that, oh, it's so painful for me. When there is suffering in my mind, I think that, oh, it's so painful. So when I identify myself to body and to mind, I cannot manage that, right? So in this way, Jnana Yoga helps us to have stress management and to lead and to separate our mind and body from our true self. In our next slide, we'll try to understand how one technique we can take to manage our stress. Okay. So it is taken from Jnana Yoga and it is called Drik Drishya Viveka. So it is based on 3 principles. The first one is, next please. So it is based on 3 principles. First one is that the seer and the seen must be different and separate. The seer is one and the seen are many. The seer is unchanged and the seen is changing. So the sloka goes like this: Rupam Drishyam Lochanam Drik तदृश्यम दृक्तु मानसम दृश्याधिवृत्तया साक्षी दृक् एव नातु दृष्टते. So let me explain it in a very simple ways. Okay, so the basic principle is whatever is changing, that cannot be I mean unchangeable. That cannot be me. That cannot be the seer. Okay, so if I have this pain, so let us start with this pain. So this pain is mine, so pain is different and I am different. So it is very obvious. Let's go a little bit deeper. So when
Sagnika ma'am, I would request you to sum up, please.
Yes. Okay. So it is the seer is the I and seen is the pain. So if I go little deeper, then if there is some problem in my eyes, so who is there to perceive that? The mind is there to perceive that. So mind is the seer and the eye is the seen. In the same way, we can observe the mind also. So what is observable? It cannot be me. So in this way, if we separate ourselves, our true self from the body and mind, we can manage it very properly. So next slide. So in this way, we have that. Next slide. Next. Yes. So to conclude, we can say that for stress management, what we have that mind management. We have to maintain one very clean and well managed life, honest life, and do yoga and exercises regularly and have positive attitude towards life. Be grateful, having contentment, so that जो भी हमारे पास है वो बहुत सारे लोगों के पास नहीं है. अभी हम बैठे हैं, डिस्कशन कर रहे हैं, बहुत लाखों या करोड़ों ऐसे लोग होंगे हॉस्पिटल में है जो कि उनका ड्रीम है कि एक दिन वो बैठेंगे और ऐसे बातें करेंगे. तो whatever, if we are physically fit, then we are blessed enough. So if we have that contentment in our life, so we can manage our stress. We can create a situation, we can create a mental state where even if there is stressor, we don't have that stress. So thank you.
Thank you so very much, Sagnika ma'am. Prachi ma'am.
Yeah, thank you very much, Sagnika. And it was a really interesting explanation that you gave, and thanks for explaining in the beginning in the terms of in the language of the younger generation, when you were talking about the mind being like a system with the software, and like a phone with the software and without the software. So that is something which the younger generation would have been able to identify with. You very beautifully balanced the Western ideas, like Mihali's talk of, when Mihali talks about the flow experience and being engaged in some task which can give you that sense of pure bliss, and relating it with the Indian traditions about training the mind. So that was very good. And I must say that there's a lot of research also on the mind and body connection. And when I was talking about the psychosomatic illnesses, it's basically about the mind and body connection. When the mind is not working effectively, or when there is a when the mind is under stress or any kind of distress or negative emotion, the body gets affected. So that can be taken as an understanding for us to try to manage stress. So when there is a connection, that is why we say that physical exercise is a very good stress buster, because of this mind body connection. So if you have ever done any rigorous exercise, you will realize that after going through a regime of exercise or a regimen of exercise, you feel physically exhausted, but still you feel very fresh. You feel raring to take on the world. So you feel as if you have all the energy to start a new task, and you feel good because of the secretion of some of those good hormones that make you feel good. Okay, so exercising is a very, very good technique for managing stress. And there are so many lifestyle techniques, doing good for others. So that's something where a lot of research shows that when you do something for others, which we call altruism, altruistic acts are, they make you feel very good about yourself. Okay. Also, another theory which I would like to add here is the stress inoculation theory. So, when in today's world, what we are doing is we are trying to protect our children all the time from all kinds of unpleasant experiences. But if you really think about it, it may not always be a very healthy practice, because just like we inoculate our children against diseases. So what do we do there? We are actually injecting the same virus or the same bacteria in the body, so that in course of time it develops its own system to fight the bacteria when it attacks the body from outside. And that's what the stress inoculation theory also says, that it's all right for children to be exposed to small levels of stress, which they can manage and handle and cope with, because it builds up their resistance, it builds up resilience, it builds up coping strategies. Okay, so they learn how to cope when they are exposed to smaller levels of stress. But
Right.
if you protect them too much and you
Prachi
never
ma'am,
allow them to
Prachi ma'am,
experience failure,
I'm really very sorry. I'm interrupting you, but we are
yeah.
running very short of time. So I would request you to invite our next speaker, ma'am.
Yes, we will just go on to the next aspect, where we are saying that because we are talking about stress management, there's a big role that parents and teachers have to play. And I would now again invite Grace to talk about how can parents be supportive and mitigate the effects of stress. How can they help children to be able to manage stress that they are facing? Grace, please.
So, ma'am, I guess this is for Prashant sir.
Okay, so maybe I so sorry. I think yeah. So maybe we will first talk to Prashant about how the role of
Teachers.
yeah, but yeah, okay, the role of teachers. I was actually asking about the fine. So Prashant will talk about the role of teachers first, because a potent source of stress is the school. So I will request Prashant to elaborate on how the teachers can uh, help the child to manage stress in the school setting.
Yes, school can trigger so many stressors to the young people. And yes, madam rightfully said that school is one of the potent source of trigger source for stress for young people. So school में जब बच्चा होता है नाना माने varieties type of bullying and various types of stress crops up in their mind. बच्चा जब स्कूल में होता है तो टीचर्स का ये रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी होता है कि क्लोजली उसको मॉनिटर करे, उसका कोई बिहेवियर डेविएशंस अगर देखने को मिले, स्ट्रेस का कोई साइंस एंड सिम्टम्स अगर देखने को मिले तो उसको मिटाने की, मिटिगेट करने की, उसको रिलीव करने की कोशिश करे। तो उसके लिए मैं थोड़ा सा वो प्रैक्टिकल थोड़ा सा कुछ सोच के आप लोगों को बताना चाहूँगा कि बच्चों से 1-to-1 बातें करना बहुत ज़रूरी है। और इसके लिए एक टीचर इन आइसोलेशन कुछ नहीं कर सकता है, उसके लिए जो पेरेंट्स के साथ भी बातचीत करना जरूरी है। 1-to-1 कन्वर्सेशन करने से क्या होगा, स्ट्रेसर्स के बारे में पता चलेगा कि कौन कौन से स्ट्रेसर्स बच्चों को स्ट्रेस दे रहा है। सो आइडेंटिफाइंग द स्ट्रेसर्स इज द फर्स्ट एंड प्राइमरी प्रीरिक्विजिट टू रिलीव द स्ट्रेस। तो उसके बाद दूसरा एक तरीका मैं इन शॉर्ट में बताना चाहूँगा कि डायरी मेंटेन करना। सेल्फ रिफ्लेक्शन के लिए हम लोगों के ज़माने में स्कूल में हम लोग डायरी लिखते थे, हर दिन हर सोने से पहले हम लोग डायरी लिखते थे। इसी तरीके से हम लोग सेल्फ रिफ्लेक्ट करते थे, खुद से बातें करते थे। तो इससे भी बहुत सारा स्ट्रेसेस रिलीज हो जाता है। जैसे कि वी कैन वेंट एंगर थ्रू द वर्ड्स इन आवर डायरी। सो ये जो पुराना एक तरीका था डायरी लिखने का, ये अभी खत्म हो गया है, बच्चे लोग नहीं कर रहा है। तो इसको वापस लाने से भी बच्चे लोग बहुत सारा मतलब स्ट्रेस से रिलीज हो सकते हैं। और टीचर्स स्टूडेंट्स को ज़्यादा ओवरबर्डन नहीं करना चाहिए, होमवर्क हो, प्रोजेक्ट वर्क हो, ये सबको एक जुडिशियसली डिस्ट्रीब्यूट करना चाहिए। जो मतलब स्ट्रेसेस आता है स्पेशली इन द स्कूल्स और एजुकेशनल इंस्टीट्यूशन से, जो स्ट्रेसेस आता है वो रिलेटेड टू गुड ग्रेड्स, गुड मार्क्स इन द एग्जामिनेशन, गुड परफॉर्मेंसेस लाना है, इन सब से बहुत स्ट्रेसेस होता है बच्चों में। तो अचीवेबल टारगेट्स, अचीवेबल गोल सेट करना चाहिए बच्चों के लिए, ताकि वो स्टेप बाय स्टेप अचीव कर सके। और बच्चों को डिसिप्लिन सिखाना चाहिए, पंक्चुअलिटी सिखाना चाहिए, टाइम मैनेजमेंट सिखाना चाहिए, और एक रेगुलर रूटीन मेंटेन करना सिखाना चाहिए, ताकि उनकी ज़िंदगी में जितना हो सके कम स्ट्रेसेस आए। और प्रायोरिटी सेटिंग करना एक एक तरीका है। मैडम ने बहुत अच्छी तरीके से, साग्निक मैडम ने बहुत अच्छी तरीके से स्ट्रेस मैनेजमेंट के बहुत सारे मतलब वो तरीका बताए, लेकिन आई वुड लाइक टू ऐड टू दोज मेजर्स। जो प्रायोरिटी सेटिंग ऐसा है कि मतलब कौन सा काम आपको पहले करना चाहिए, प्रायोरिटी 1, प्रायोरिटी 2, प्रायोरिटी 3, ऐसे प्रायोरिटाइज करने से बच्चों को मतलब टाइम मैनेजमेंट भी होगा और प्रायोरिटी सेट करने से स्ट्रेसेस भी कम होगा। और एक तरीका आई वुड लाइक टू शेयर टू माय ऑडियंस दैट छोटा छोटा जो हाउस होल्ड एक्टिविटीज होता है बच्चों का, उनमें अगर पेरेंट्स के साथ, फैमिली मेंबर्स के साथ बच्चों को जुड़ा जाए, तो उनमें से भी बहुत सारे स्ट्रेसेस रिलीज हो जाता है। और उसी वक्त कन्वर्सेशन करना चाहिए बच्चों के साथ, मतलब खुलना चाहिए अपने पेरेंट्स और फैमिली मेंबर्स, एक दूसरे को जानने समझने की कोशिश करने से भी बहुत सारे स्ट्रेसेस रिलीज हो जाता है। अभी अभी के टाइम पे ऐसा हो रहा है कि एवरीवन इज बिजी, काम पे बिजी रहता है, मोबाइल पे बिजी रहता है, तो इनमें बच्चा लोग अपने घर में कम्युनिकेशन बहुत कम करते हैं, जिसके वजह से उन लोगों का स्ट्रेसेस दिन ब दिन कंपाइल होते जाते रहते हैं। सो छोटा छोटा लाइक जैसे कि अपनी गार्डन में पानी देना, घर का साफ सफाई करना, कार को साफ सफाई करना, ये सब छोटा छोटा काम अगर बच्चों को करने में इन्वॉल्व कर ले, तो बच्चों का बहुत सारा स्ट्रेसेस रिलीज हो जाता है, जिसमें फिजिकल एक्टिविटी भी इन्वॉल्व होता है, जिससे मतलब लास्ट में जाके स्ट्रेसेस रिलीज होने में बहुत हेल्प करता है। और नेचर से जुड़ा रहने से मतलब स्ट्रेसेस बहुत कम होता है। वो इंडियन एक फिलोसफी है, मतलब जितना हो सके नेचर के साथ जुड़ा रहने से, जो हम लोगों का वो इंडिजिनियस लाइफस्टाइल था, उसको अपनाने से, खान पान से लेके, रहन सहन से लेके, मतलब सोचने की तरीका, ये सब इंडियनाइज जो हम लोगों का परंपरागत जो ट्रेडिशनल इंडिजिनस जो थॉट्स थे, वो सबको थोड़ा अपनाने से जो आज की जिंदगी, भागदौड़ भरी जो जिंदगी है, उसमें थोड़ा सा वो स्ट्रेसेस कम कर सकता है। और काउंसलिंग की भी बहुत जरूरी है। अगर हर टीचर कांट बी द ऑलराउंडर, सो जो ड्रग अब्यूज हो, कुछ मोलेस्टेशन की वजह से कुछ स्ट्रेसेस हो, इन सब में प्रोफेशनल्स की हेल्प लेना बहुत जरूरी है। और मैं फिर से बताना चाहूँगा इससे पहले कि कौन सा स्ट्रेसर्स बच्चों को स्ट्रेस दे रहा है, इसको आइडेंटिफाई करना बहुत जरूरी है। और ये स्ट्रेसेस एक्यूट है या ये क्रॉनिक है, ये सबको मतलब देखना भी बहुत जरूरी है। इन आवर प्लेस, इन आवर स्टेट, वी हैव सीन दैट बहुत सारा मतलब डिजास्टर्स होता है, जैसे कि बाढ़ आता है, फ्लड आता है, उसके बाद बच्चों का लिखने पढ़ने का जो साधन होता है वो सब खत्म हो जाता है, घर खत्म हो जाता है, अपने प्यारा सा वो कुत्ता हो या बिल्ली हो या गाय हो, ये सब मतलब बाढ़ में चले जाते हैं। तो उसके बाद अपने अपनों को भी खोते हैं कभी कभी बाढ़ में। सो इन दैट सिचुएशन दे गोस थ्रू सो मेनी स्ट्रेसेस। तो इसमें भी मतलब एक वो टीचर्स लोग मतलब एक सही तरीके से कुछ मतलब नुस्खा अपनाएंगे, तो बच्चों को स्ट्रेसेस से रिलीज मिलेगा। मेरे कहने का ये मतलब है कि बच्चों से हम लोग अगर दोस्तीदारी निभाए, बच्चों को मत डराए, और बच्चों को एडल्ट जैसा हम लोग अगर रिस्पेक्ट करेंगे, तो उनमें मतलब बच्चों का वो स्ट्रेसेस बहुत कम होता है। और अनअचीवेबल और पेरेंट्स का हो या बड़ों का जो ड्रीम होता है, उसको चेस करने के लिए जो स्ट्रेसेस हम डालते हैं, उसको अगर थोड़ा कम कर दे, तो बच्चा लोग मतलब एक सही तरीके से, सही ढंग से स्ट्रेस फ्री लाइफ को जी पाएंगे। And that's all from my side. Over to you, ma'am.
Yes,
थैंक यू
Prachi
वेरी
ma'am.
मच प्रशांत, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। आपने बहुत अच्छे तरीके से कुछ ऐसे छोटी छोटी बातें बताई जो कि ये हम लोग अपनी लाइफ में उसको अमल में ला सकते हैं। अपने हर 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 शिक्षक ये काम कर सकता है, कोई बहुत मुश्किल नहीं है ये करना। और सबसे जरूरी ये है कि जो आपने बोला कि ये सबसे महत्वपूर्ण बात जो आपने बोली कि बड़े लोगों के जैसे छोटों का भी आदर करना है, उनको प्रेम की भावना से उनके साथ हर कार्य करना है, तो ये बहुत जरूरी है। और ये एक एक्चुअली ये बच्चे को ये एक ऐसा संदेश देता है कि मैं इम्पोर्टेंट हूँ, मैं एक रिस्पेक्टेबल इंसान हूँ, मेरे को मैं एक ऐसा व्यक्ति हूँ जिसको लोग पसंद करते हैं, जिसको लोग प्यार करते हैं। और इससे ही बहुत कुछ चीजें हल हो सकती हैं, क्योंकि बहुत बार स्ट्रेस होता ही इसलिए है क्योंकि बच्चा सोचता है कि मैं हूं ये, मगर मुझे बनना कुछ और है। तो जब हम उसको, जैसे हम बोलते हैं कि अनकंडीशनल एक्सेप्टेंस, कि जैसे भी हैं आप अच्छे हैं, आप हमारे लिए बहुत मूल्यवान हैं, अगर हम ये मैसेज एक बच्चे को दे सकते हैं तो उससे ही बहुत कुछ स्ट्रेस उसका, बहुत कुछ स्ट्रेस कम हो सकता है। सो थैंक यू वेरी मच प्रशांत। And with this, I will come back to Grace and request her to talk about how parents, जो कुछ प्रशांत ने बोला, that is also very relevant for parents also. So if you can please elaborate on how parents can help in the management of stress, especially with respect to young children. Grace, please.
All right, ma'am. Now coming to this point about the role of parents and family in managing stress, I have only one point, and that is the parenting style. The comparative way of raising children, like in our times, should be revisited and strengthened otherwise. And this includes, uh, we need to inculcate our children with basic life skills as formulated by World Health Organization. That is of the 4 areas: the head, the heart, the hand, and health, so that our children would be equipped with problem-solving skills, empathy, then wise use of resources, and definitely healthy lifestyle. Then number 2 is, to make a kind of home timetable which is stress-free for the children. Don't cram the life of our children with activities that even adults and mature people also cannot digest. Then number 3 is we should stop judging or labeling our children. Then number 4, we should keep motivating our children in spite of the failures. Then provide them with those basic amenities in life, that is food, shelter, and clothing. And also number 4, I feel that we should create a safe and sound family environment and atmosphere. Then number 5 is to recognize and appreciate children's potentialities and caliber. Then 6, we should also remember as parents that we are the role model. So to become a role model, you should have a positive attitude and a positive mindset towards life. And above all, let us love our children unconditionally. And to the family members, all I have to say is that let us lend a helping hand and support all the children, irrespective of age, looks, liabilities, and so on and so forth. So that's all from my part. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Grace ma'am. And indeed, a role of teachers is very vital, and role of parent and family is very, very important to any person's life. प्राची मैम, यहाँ पर हम आपसे रिक्वेस्ट करेंगे कि आप इस पूरे डिस्कशन को कंक्लूड करें मैम. प्राची मैम.
Thank you again, Renu. Yeah, so what I would like to say finally was, of course, this was a very fruitful discussion, और हम लोगों ने stress के issue को बहुत सारे perspectives से देखा कि what are some of the stressors that we encounter in our life, what are some of the ways that we can manage stress, और स्पेशली उसमें हमने वेस्टर्न एंड एज वेल एज इंडियन पर्सपेक्टिव्स को भी सुना, जो कि हम अपनी लाइफ में बहुत आराम से inculcate कर सकते हैं, ला सकते हैं. To conclude, I would say that stress management is not the responsibility of the individual alone. इसमें बहुत जरूरी है कि there's a coordination, there's a balance between me and people around me. So the school comes in, the parents come in, the family comes in, the peer group comes in. And it's not that I am only struggling with stress. There are other people also struggling around me. And the crucial issue would be the crucial point where we can really intervene would be to keep our eyes and ears open for those signals that people send about them being not okay, about them being distressed. Okay, so these signals are very important. So sometimes when people say you are having a party and a person doesn't turn up, or you want to go out together with friends and one of your friends says no, I'm not in the mood, or a child who's uh, whose performance in the school is going down steadily, or or a child who's falling sick very often. These are some of the these could be some of the indicators of stress, and it is our responsibility of the responsibility of each of us. Okay, so it's not like we will put all the responsibility on the parents or all the responsibility on the teachers. Me as a person, I as an individual also has a responsibility towards myself. Okay, I am always trying to do good for others, but I should also think what is good for me, and I should try to do the best possible thing by myself also. Okay, so accepting myself as I am. Of course, it does not mean that you do not try to improve, but know your limits. Know your limits and accept your limits. Accept your failures as a chance to do well in the next opportunity. Okay, so these are some of the things that can help us to manage our stress. Above all, a balance in everything is very important. A balance in life, a balance in how you eat, how you exercise. The social media is a very big stressor. It's infringing into our lives, and it is making children yearn for more. They are forced to fill up certain expectations that are being designed by the social media, and that causes a lot of stress to them because they need certain things which the media says that they should have. They want to do certain things which the media says that everyone is doing. So a balance between all these things is very crucial for us to be able to manage stress. uh, uh, Again, parents and teachers have a major role to play in this. Accepting the child, not putting too many of expectations which are beyond the capacity of the child. Not making your acceptance and your love of your child conditional. So we talk about the unconditional love. Okay, unconditional love, that no matter what you achieve, no matter how you look like, no matter what you can do or cannot do, I love you, I accept you as a worthy human being. That is a very important message that we need to send across to our young people, to not only young people, everyone around us, because that is where the stress begins from,
Prachi ma'am,
when we want to be accepted and are not being accepted
yes,
as
Prachi
ourselves.
ma'am, here I
So
would,
yeah, thank you very much.
no ma'am, I
That's
need
all I
to,
have to say.
I have a question, ma'am. If any of the student, whosoever, whether he or she is adolescent or at any age of any age group, ma'am, if he or she seeks for help, अगर उनके साथ कुछ ऐसा होता है जो वो अपने घर में किसी से शेयर नहीं कर पा रहे, in that case, to whom they should ask for help, ma'am?
Thank you, Renu, for asking that question. Because ये बहुत बड़ा इशू है, बहुत बड़ा इशू है. तो हम लोग कुछ एक प्रोग्राम कर रहे थे अपने स्टूडेंट्स के लिए, जिसमें हमने इस पे फोकस किया था, आस्किंग फॉर हेल्प। सो व्हाट वी वर सेइंग इज, सबसे पहले तो पेरेंट्स और घर ही होता है, बट अगर किसी वजह से पेरेंट्स के साथ आप नहीं बात कर सकते हैं, तो स्कूल इज द नेक्स्ट बेस्ट प्लेस। School is the next best place, and that is something we were trying to develop. We were trying to uh, we were trying to arrange an intervention जहाँ हम कह रहे हैं peer counselors। तो आपके क्लासमेट्स ही कुछ ऐसे हैं जो हम जिनको हम ट्रेन कर रहे हैं एज पीयर काउंसलर्स, जो आपके और टीचर या आपके और काउंसलर के बीच का एक ब्रिज है। तो जहाँ पे बच्चा डायरेक्टली टीचर को अप्रोच नहीं कर पाता है, या डायरेक्टली काउंसलर के पास जाने में उसको थोड़ा शर्म आती है या हेजिटेट करता है, वहाँ ये वाले बच्चे जो बच्चे थोड़े मैच्योर हैं, थोड़े थोड़े सेंसिटिव हैं दूसरे बच्चों की प्रॉब्लम्स के लिए, हम इन लोगों को भी एक रिसोर्स के जैसे डेवलप कर सकते हैं। और ऑफ कोर्स एक सबसे बड़ी तो हमारी मनोदर्पण हेल्पलाइन है, जिसका आप, मुझे लगता है बाद में यू विल बी फ्लैशिंग द नंबर। सो अगर आप बिल्कुल ही किसी से अपने आसपास नहीं बात कर सकते हैं, सो द हेल्पलाइन इज अ वेरी वेरी गुड रिसोर्स, बिकॉज यहाँ पे 24/7 वी हैव trained counselors willing to help you. These are people who have volunteered to do this job, and it's going on. So there are children who are calling up on this helpline. So I think that is another option. So the first is your own parents, if not that, your teachers, and then even your friends can be a support group for you. If nothing out of these three works, then there is this helpline that is available, which you can call upon. So I think that is some suggestions I can give about where, yeah.
थैंक यू सो वेरी मच प्राची मैम, आपने हमारे सभी व्यूअर्स को बताया कि अगर कुछ ऐसी प्रॉब्लम होती है जो वो किसी के साथ शेयर नहीं कर पा रहे, तो आप मनोदर्पण काउंसलर से बात कर सकते हैं। लेकिन सबसे पहले आपके पेरेंट्स सबसे ज़्यादा आपके नज़दीक हैं, आपके भाई बहन हैं, फिर आपके टीचर्स, आप उनसे बात कर सकते हैं। आपके स्कूल में यदि काउंसलर्स हैं, आप उनसे बात कर सकते हैं। देयर आर सो मेनी वेज दैट यू कैन रीच आउट। आप ज़रूर, अगर आपको कभी भी लगे इन एनी कभी भी किसी भी जगह आपको अगर ये लगता है कि आपको हेल्प की ज़रूरत है बच्चों, तो डू आस्क फॉर हेल्प। कोई इसमें हेजिटेशन की बात नहीं है, आप ज़रूर हेल्प की बात करें। और इट्स टाइम फॉर मी टू रैप अप दिस सेशन, बट बिफोर दैट लेट मी थैंक आवर पैनलिस्ट। थैंक यू सो वेरी मच प्राची मैम, थैंक यू सो वेरी मच सागनिका मैम, ग्रेसफुलनेस मैम, एंड प्रशांत सर। थैंक यू सो वेरी मच फॉर ऑल योर वैल्यूएबल इंफॉर्मेशन। थैंक यू। तो आई एम क्वाइट श्योर डियर लर्नर्स एंड व्यूवर्स, वेदर यू आर स्टूडेंट्स और टीचर्स, आपको ये पूरा सत्र बहुत पसंद आया होगा और आपको काफ़ी चीज़ें, बातें जानने को पता चली। इस सत्र में हम बात कर रहे थे अंडरस्टैंडिंग स्ट्रेस एंड मैनेजिंग इट इफेक्टिवली। स्ट्रेस हर किसी को हो सकता है, दो तरह के स्ट्रेस हैं, अच्छा और बुरा, दोनों तरह के स्ट्रेस होते हैं। आपको किस तरह से स्ट्रेस से डील करना है, कैसे अपने स्ट्रेस को मैनेज करना है, आपको आज इस पूरे मनोदर्पण परिचर्चा में बताया गया। आपको कुछ चीज़ें, टेक्निक्स भी बताई गई, आप ज़रूर उस टेक्निक को इस्तेमाल करें, आप उसको अपनी डेली रूटीन में आजमाएं और उसे देखें कि कितने अच्छे आपको बेनिफिट्स मिल रहे हैं या फिर क्या कुछ चेंजेस आप अपने अंदर पा रहे हैं। और इससे पहले कि मैं आप सभी से अनुमति ले लूं, मैं आपके साथ शेयर करना चाहूँगी आज वो सत्र जो आप इसके बाद यानी कि 4 बजे के बाद देख पाएंगे। अब से थोड़ी देर में हम आप सभी के लिए लेकर आएंगे ऑनलाइन ट्रेनिंग प्रोग्राम। ये आज इसका आखिरी दिन है और इसमें हम बात करेंगे पेरेंटल कंट्रोल्स एंड मॉनिटरिंग इस टॉपिक पर। 5 बजे का समय रहेगा हमारे सहयोग सत्र का, जिसमें हम बात करने वाले हैं यूसेज ऑफ सोशल मीडिया, और इसमें भी हम बच्चों के मेंटल वेलबींग पर बात करते हैं। तो डू पार्टिसिपेट इन दैट प्रोग्राम। और 5:30 बजे का समय हमारे एक और स्पेशल सेशन का, जिसमें हम बात करते हैं अपने स्कूल हेड से, नीपा पर आधारित है, यानी कि स्कूल लीडरशिप डेवलपमेंट पर आधारित है ये सत्र, जिसमें आज हम बात करने वाले हैं झारखंड के स्कूल हेड के एक स्कूल के हेड से हम बात करते हैं, जानते हैं उनकी जर्नी को, किस तरह से उन्होंने अपने सारे चैलेंजेस और ऑब्स्टिकल को ओवरकम किया और अपने स्कूल को, अपने स्टूडेंट्स और टीचर्स के लिए और बेहतर जगह बनाई पढ़ने के लिए। और इसी के साथ मैं आप सभी से अनुमति लूँ, जाते जाते आप सभी के साथ हम शेयर करना चाहेंगे मनोदर्पण काउंसलर का नंबर। कभी भी आपको लगे आपको हेल्प की ज़रूरत है, आप कॉल कर सकते हैं 8448440632 पर। इस नंबर को आप ज़रूर अपने पास रखें और अपने दोस्तों के साथ भी शेयर कर सकते हैं। और इस चीज़ के साथ ही मैं आप सभी से ले लेती हूँ अनुमति। आप बने रहें PM eVidya चैनल्स पर। नमस्कार।
अब नहीं है हिचकिचाना, मन के स्वास्थ्य पर है ध्यान लगाना।
अब नहीं है हिचकिचाना, मन के स्वास्थ्य पर है ध्यान लगाना।
मन की सेहत भी है जरूरी, काउंसलर से फिर क्यों दूरी।
मन की सेहत भी है जरूरी, काउंसलर से फिर क्यों दूरी।
चलो अब अपना फोन उठाओ, मनोदर्पण पर कॉल लगाओ। चलो अब अपना फोन उठाओ, मनोदर्पण पर कॉल लगाओ। मनोदर्पण के काउंसलर से परामर्श पाने के लिए डायल करें टोल फ्री नंबर 844-844-0632। नंबर एक बार फिर सुने, 844-844-0632।